Okay, our topic is about the permutation and counting principles. For this lesson, you are expected to illustrate the permutation of objects, list the possible ways a certain task or activity can be done, and apply the formula for finding the number of permutation of n objects taken r at a time. Okay, so look at the picture shown on the screen. Have you ever realized that there are several possible ways in doing most tasks or activities like what you have seen here? Arrangement of books in the shelves, sitting arrangement on a round or circular table, and the third one is how many ways can we select the winner from the first to the third placers out of ilan yung mga candidates or contestants. And did you know that awareness of this can help you form conclusions and make wise decisions? Our topic is about permutation, and it will really help you in forming your decisions and conclusions in some of the situation. Okay, let's have this preliminary activity. Suppose your friend invited you to watch a movie. So you have to bring food to enjoy your watching. In order to choose what movie and what food are you going to watch and eat or bring in the cinema, we can have this concept in selecting from all the possible ways. Let's say, for example, the first movie is Spider-Man, and the second movie is All of Us Dead. And the choices for food are bringing fries or popcorn. And by means of this tree diagram, we will know the number of possible ways to select from. First possible result is watching Spider-Man together with fries. Second is watching Spider-Man together with popcorn. Or watching All of Us Dead with fries. Or watching All of Us Dead with a popcorn. So how many possible ways are there? Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 ways. We have 4 possible ways. Let's have another example. A close friend invited Sophia to her birthday party. Sophia has 4 new blouses, stripes with ruffles, long sleeves, and sleeveless, and 3 skirts, black, pink, and red, in her closet for the occasion. Assuming that any skirt can be paired with any blouse, in how many ways can Sophia select her outfit? How many blouse and skirts pairs are possible? That is called the fundamental counting principle. If there are A ways to represent one activity to occur and B ways to represent a second activity to occur, then there are A times B ways for both to occur. Note, the counting principle only works when all the choices are independent of each other. One choice does not depend upon another choice. If one choice affects another choice, then this simple multiplication process will not lead to the correct answer. Three runners join a race. In how many possible ways can they be arranged as the first, second, and third placer? Tatlo ang runners. Tatlo ang ranking or winners. Tatlo din yung magiging winners. All of them can be the first winner or can be the first placer. If one of them is the first placer, then only two of the rest will become the second placer. And if one of them is the first placer and one of them is the second placer, the remaining one is the only third placer. Therefore, three possible can be the first placer. Pag yung isa nasa first na, there are two remaining runner that could be in the second placer. Since we have one runner in the first and second placer, yung natitirang isa will be the third placer. And that is 3 times 2 times 1 equals 6. First, second, and third placer. Therefore, there are 6 ways of arranging the winners from the first to the third placer. Factorial notation. For every positive integer n factorial is equal to n times the quantity n minus 1 times the quantity n minus 2 up to 3 times 2 times 1. Or, in the symbol of exclamation mark. The factorial notation just means to multiply a series of descending natural numbers. For example, 4 factorial is equal to 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is when we evaluate that is equal to 24. Same with 7 factorial, and that is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 equals 24. Or 1 factorial is 1. Same with the 0 factorial is also equal to 1. Okay, let's try to evaluate the following. 6 factorial. What is the value of 6 factorial? 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And the answer is, please send your answer in our group chat. Okay, the answer is 720. Next, how about 2 factorial times 6 factorial? Since we know the value of 6 factorial, that is 720, what is the result when we multiply it to 2 factorial? And 2 factorial is equal to 2 times 1. What's the answer? Okay, the answer is 1440. How about 10 factorial over 8 factorial? This time, it is division. 10 factorial is equal to 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. While 8 factorial is 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, the answer and the solution goes like this. 10 times 9 times 8 factorial over 8 factorial. Nag-end ako to 8 factorial since 8 factorial is common to our numerator and to our denominator. So cancel it out. The remaining factors now is 10 times 9. So 10 and 9. So 10 times 9 is equal to 90. So 90 is the answer. Okay, how about 11 factorial over 11 minus 3 factorial? Okay, the answer is 990. Since the common factorial ulit in the numerator and denominator is 8 factorial, cancel mo lang siya. So 11 times 10 times 9 is equal to 990. Okay, another example. Same lang do sa runner, but this time, 10 runners join a race. 10 na sila. In how many possible ways can they be arranged as first, second, and third placer? Again, ilan ang possible na pwedeng maging first placer? Ilan yung pwedeng maging second placer kung meron nang napili para or kung meron na nanalo as the first placer? At ilan din yung pwede na maging third placer kung meron ng first and second placer? There are 10 runners, therefore, all of them are qualified to be the first placer. They are possible to be the first placer. Pag meron ng isa na na-awardan as the first placer, then there are 9 na lang na pwede maging second placer. Kung meron na tayong first and second, so meron na tayong first and second, 8 na lang sa kanila yung hindi pa nananalo at posibleng maging third placer. So we have 10 times 9 times 8 is equal to 720. There are 720 ways of arranging the winners from first to third placers. Permutation. Permutation is defined as an arrangement of elements in an ordered list. It is used to determine how many arrangements are possible in the set of variables considering a sequence and or a condition. Yan. However, most problems dealing with permutations are not as simple as the previous example. With the vast number of possibilities and conditions that any probability problems may fall on, we shall be categorizing the applications of the permutation according to its nature of solution. Permutation without repetition. It is easily identified on a problem involving sets with no identical elements. Walang pareho. This is the number of possible arrangements when R elements are chosen from N elements of the set. The formula used for this permutation is this one. The permutation of N taken R is equal to N factorial over the quantity N minus R factorial. Example, how many permutations are to be made with 3 balls from the 15-ball pool? Given here is 15, all in all. Then, taken 3 at a time, so your R is equal to 3. From the formula of the permutation without repetition, N taken R is equal to N factorial over the quantity N minus R factorial. Your N is 15 and your R is 3, so we have 15 factorial over 15 minus 3 factorial. 15 factorial is 15 times 14 times 13 times, nag-stop ako sa 12 factorial. Why? Kasi sa denominator natin, we have 15 minus 3. And 15 minus 3 is 12 factorial din. So the common factor in the numerator and denominator is 12 factorial. Cancel it out. 15 times 14 times 13 is equal to 2,730 arrangements. Therefore, there are 2,730 arrangements that can be done by picking 3 balls from the 15-ball pool. Another is permutation with repetition. It is identified on a problem involving sets with identical elements. May pareho. The repetitions are solved by dividing the total permutation by the product of the factorial of the number of identical elements. The formula used for this permutation is the permutation of N taken R with repetition is equal to the permutation of N taken R all over x sub 1 factorial times x sub 2 factorial up to x sub 0 factorial. It depends on the object that is repeated, where x is the identical element. Example, How many different permutations can be made from the letters of the word different? D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-T. So we have 9 total letters from the word different. Dalawa ang F, dalawa ang E, then the other remaining letters ay tig-isa lang. It is a permutation with repetition, so we have to use the permutation of n taken r equals n factorial over x sub 1 factorial times x sub 2 factorial. Since dalawa lang naman yung letter na umulit. N is equal to 9, so we have 9 factorial over, we have 2f, so 2 factorial, times we have 2e, so times 2 factorial. 9 factorial is equal to 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So, divided by yung 2 times factorial times 2 factorial is equal to 2 times 1 times 2 times 1. So, we have 4. That is equivalent to 90,720 since we may cancel 4 in the numerator and denominator. Common factor, tatanggalin. So, 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 3 times 2 times 1. Kaya naging 90,720. There are 90,720 permutations from the letters of the word different. Another example of permutation with repetition is Maria has 3 vases of the same kind and 2 candle stands of the same kind. In how many ways can she arrange these items in line? So, 3 identical vases and 2 identical candle stands. We have 5 total objects in all and 3 vases and 2 candle stands. Therefore, use the formula for permutation with repetition. N factorial is equal n factorial over x sub 1 factorial times x sub 2 factorial. Ang n natin is 5 and yung x sub 1 is 3 for the vases and x sub 2 is 2 for the candle stands. 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 factorial. I end up with 3 factorial. Why? Kasi may 3 factorial naman sa baba. 3 factorial times 2 factorial. So, I canceled out 3 factorial to simplify first. And then, ang matitira is 5 times 4 over, si 2 factorial sa baba ay 2 times 1. So, that means 2. 5 times 4 is 20. Divided by 2, the answer is 10. Therefore, there are 10 ways to arrange the items in line. Okay, next we have the circular permutation. Circular permutation is also known as cyclic permutation, a type of permutation that sets the elements in a circular arrangement, or that has no start point nor an end point. However, an element of the set shall be designated as a fixed or reference element, where the fixed element shall be stationary and the other elements are not. There are 2 subcategories for the circular permutation. First is the clockwise and the counterclockwise arrangement of the elements can be distinguished. Then the total number of circular permutation will be, the permutation is equal to the quantity n minus 1 factorial. Yung second naman, if the clockwise nor the counterclockwise arrangement of the elements are not distinguishable, then the total number of circular permutations are n minus 1 factorial over 2. An example is, how many ways can 10 people sit around the table? Since the direction of the element or the direction of the arrangement is distinguishable, we have to use this formula, the first case, where your n is equal to 10, since it is circular in a circular table, 10 minus 1 factorial will be 9 factorial. And 9 factorial is equal to 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 1. The answer is 362,880. There are 362,880 possible arrangement for the 10 people to sit around a circular table. Another example is that how many ways can 7 diamonds be formed into a necklace? Since the direction of the arrangement is indistinguishable, we have to use this formula, yung pangalawa. Divide by 2. So there are 7 diamonds, so n is equal to 7. Minus 1 will be 6 factorial na. Over 2, the answer is 360. There are 360 possible ways to form the 7 diamonds into a necklace. Let's remember that permutation is the ordered arrangement of given elements from the elements of a given set. The first one to consider is the counting principle or the fundamental counting principle, wherein you can apply that if the given are independent with each other. Independent. While permutation without repetition, with the use of the formula P of n r, or the permutation of n taken r, is equal to n factorial over n minus r, and closed by a parenthesis factorial. Second, the permutation with repetition, wherein the objects given are distinguishable or nauulit. To find for its permutation, we have the permutation of n taken r divided by x sub 1 factorial times x sub 2 factorial up to x sub 0 factorial. Ang denominator are the factorials of all objects that is repeated or identical. Third circular permutation, yung una, if the given object is distinguishable by counterclockwise or clockwise direction or arrangement. For that, the total number of circular permutations is the quantity n minus 1 factorial. While if the clockwise nor the counterclockwise arrangement of the elements are not distinguishable, example is the beads, the necklace, and the braces, then the total number of the circular permutation is the quantity n minus 1 factorial over 2. For your output today, you have to answer let's take n of this module, then upload it in our Google Classroom. May folder na po doon. Deadline for submission is until tomorrow. Follow-up assignment, answer let's try and let's evaluate via Google form. Wait for the link.